Why did you come to the U.S.?
I think my parents came to the U.S. for opportunity, a better way of living. Um, they actually came to the U.S. before my brother and I. They found jobs first, and then after a year, they petitioned us, and so we went to Guam. And I think the move to Guam was much better than their way of living in the Philippines. Um, my dad has a college degree, my mom doesn't, and so they didn't want us growing up struggling the way they did. So I think that's why we moved to Guam.
Have you experienced any prejudice or racism?
Um, I wouldn't call it prejudice or racism. When I started kindergarten, I spoke a second language, Ilocano, and it was difficult for my friends to understand what I was saying. Some did, but the local kids didn't. And so, in fact, I got lost on a bus because I couldn't speak English. And when I was in the first grade, I was fortunate to have had a teacher who came from Texas, and she spent her recess periods teaching me English. And so by the time I left the first grade, I spoke only English. And when I was in high school, I experienced racism or prejudice because the local kids, the Chamorros, targeted different cultures. For example, maybe one day they would target Tagalogs, and maybe another day they would target the Visayans, and another day they would target the military kids. I didn't really fall under that category because I was pretty much raised on Guam, but I saw how other cultures were treated and how gang wars started for about a week or two, and it got so bad that we had to have police presence on our campus throughout the day.
What advice could you give about living in harmony with others?
I think if you want to live in harmony or you don't want any trouble, you just basically accept people for their differences, and you don't try to make yourself better than others, and you just accept each other. If you try to think that your culture is better or you as a person is better than the person sitting next to you, then you're never going to get along, and you're always going to have issues with people. I learned very young that if you judge people, then you should be ready to get judgment back. If you criticize people in the same manner, then you shouldn't complain when you get criticized. But if you accept everyone, whether it's race, whether it's religion, whether it's the way they go about doing things through their actions, if you don't judge and you just don't go correcting people because you think you're always right, then you could get along, I think.